Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Writing Task 2. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to write an advantage, disadvantage essay. Before we begin the lesson, I would like to point out a few things about writing task 2. Now, the first thing that is very important to remember is that you get 40 minutes to write your task 2. You should write more than 250 words. It is also important to remember that your writing task 2 will be marked on task response, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary, and grammar. The other thing that I would like to point out is that the general training writing task 2 is the same as the academic. So if you are an academic student or if you are a general training student, your writing task 2 is going to be exactly the same. The essay is written in the same way and the scoring is the same. The only difference is that the general training essay questions are often easier and the topics are simpler. Now, let us begin our lesson. The question is, the rise of fast food has helped people keep up with our busy modern lifestyle. What are the advantages of this trend? Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to write the main body and conclusion. In the next video, I will teach you how to write the introduction of this essay. Remember, when it comes to your writing task 2, you need to write 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph should be the introduction, and you should then have 2 main body paragraphs and the conclusion. Remember, you only have 40 minutes, so you don't have a lot of time. But at the same time, you want to ensure that you write an essay that meets all the requirements for you to score a high band. This essay that I'm going to teach you is a band 9 essay. So if you want to score a band 9, then this lesson is going to be very helpful for you. So the first thing that you have to do is ensure that you understand the question very well. Read the question and underline the keywords in the question. The rise of fast food has helped people keep up with our busy modern lifestyle. So that part means that nowadays there are a lot of fast food outlets or restaurants. And that has been fantastic because it has helped people to cope with our busy modern lifestyle when you have so many things to do and you don't have time to cook. So a fast food restaurant comes in very handy. Then the second part of the question is, what are the advantages of this trend? What are the advantages? So what are the advantages of having so many fast food outlets? And then the third part is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So the examiner also expects you to point out in your essay whether the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, meaning whether the advantages are more important than the disadvantages, or is it that the disadvantages are more than the advantages. Okay, now the first thing you need to do is begin writing your body paragraph 2. That is, once you have finished writing your introduction, because it is very important that in your introduction you have all the requirements that the examiner is looking for. Once you have written your introduction, then move on to the body paragraph. The first thing that you need to write in your body paragraph is a topic sentence. A topic sentence is a sentence that introduces what the rest of the paragraph is going to be talking about. So it is extremely important that you begin your body paragraph with a topic sentence. In this essay, we are supposed to write about advantages and disadvantages of fast food. So we are now going to start with the advantages, and that should be reflected in the first sentence of the body paragraph. In this case, our sentence is, there are numerous advantages to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life. There are numerous advantages to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life. Now, as soon as the examiner begins reading that paragraph, he or she can tell that you're going to be talking about advantages. You're going to be talking about numerous advantages. Numerous means countable, countless, okay? Numerous means countless. There are so many advantages. So the examiner now is waiting to hear what the advantages are. So remember to begin your body paragraph 2 with a topic sentence. So to introduce my first advantage, I'm going to use the linking word firstly. So firstly, comma, it has made it quite easy and quick to buy ready-to-eat food without wasting any time preparing it. Firstly, it has made it quite easy and quick to buy ready-to-eat food without wasting time preparing it. That is one of the advantages of the rise of fast food. The fact that it is quite easy and quick to buy ready-to-eat food without wasting any time preparing it. You don't have to waste any time preparing food because you can simply buy it from a fast food restaurant without any problem. It's quick, easy to buy ready-to-eat food. That means food that is already prepared. All you have to do is eat it. So that is the first point to support the topic sentence. Remember, in the topic sentence, I signaled to the examiner that I'm going to talk about the advantages of fast food. Now, I'm going to introduce my second point to support that paragraph. And I'm going to introduce the second point using a linking word, and that is as a result of. Okay, so as a result of this, one is able to reduce their energy bills and also save energy, which is good for the environment because it does reduce the effects of global warming. As a result of this, one is able to reduce their energy bills and also save energy, which is good for the environment because it does reduce the effects of global warming. So in that sentence, I have introduced the second advantage, and that is when you eat fast food, when you buy fast food, you don't have to cook it. You don't have to go home and cook any food, and because of that, if you reduce your energy bills, assuming that you use electricity to cook or maybe you use gas, but even if you use charcoal, you're still saving energy, which is good for the environment because it does reduce the effects of global warming. remember, you're supposed to explain all your points very clearly. You have to elaborate them very clearly so that the examiner can give you the marks that you deserve. Now, let's move on to the next point. And to introduce that point, I'm going to use another connector, and that is another. So another benefit is the fact that we can use the time we would have spent cooking the food doing productive activities such as working, socializing with friends, or just unwinding. Another benefit is the fact that we can use the time we would have spent cooking the food doing productive activities such as working, socializing with friends, or just unwinding. So in that point, I have explained to the examiner that another benefit of the rise of fast food is the fact that because you don't have to spend any time cooking, the time you would have spent cooking the food, you can use it to do productive activities such as working, socializing with friends, or just unwinding. Unwinding means relaxing. So that's how you write your body paragraph 2. The first thing that you do, introduce the body paragraph with a topic sentence. In the topic sentence, that is where you state very clearly what the rest of the paragraph is going to be based on. And in this case, this is an advantage-disadvantage essay. So the topic sentence of your body paragraph 2 should be about advantages. And that's why I had there are numerous advantages to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life. It is very important that you introduce your advantages in that way. There are numerous advantages, or you could write, there are many advantages to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life. Now that makes it very easy for you to start writing about the advantages. And it also makes it easy for you to begin doing that using connectors. So I would encourage you to borrow that sentence. You can either write, there are numerous advantages to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life, or you can write, there are many advantages to, take note of the preposition, to the fast food culture that has dominated our modern way of life. And then after that, I have about 3 or 4 points, and I have introduced them using connectors. Firstly, as a result of, another benefit, okay? And remember to elaborate your points. Ensure that you elaborate all your points. In body paragraph 2, you can have a total of 3 points. You can have your topic sentence, and then after that you have 3 points. But ensure that you elaborate your points, okay? Now, let's move on to body paragraph 3. In body paragraph 2, we have talked about advantages. So in body paragraph 3, we are going to talk about advantages. Now, the first thing that we are going to do, as I already pointed out, is write the topic sentence. In the topic sentence, we are going to make it very clear to the examiner that we are just about to talk about disadvantages. So you can use the linking word on the other hand, okay? And that is because in the body paragraph 2, you talked about advantages. So on the other hand, meaning now you're about to talk about disadvantages. On the other hand, comma, the rise in the fast food trend has been extremely counterproductive. Now, counterproductive means it has resulted to a lot of disadvantages, okay? It is counterproductive. It has been negative, okay? If something is counterproductive, it means that it is negative, okay? It causes a lot of disadvantages, okay? So, remember this is a Band 9 essay, so that's why the vocabulary is slightly more difficult. So counterproductive instead of saying it has been extremely negative. And then after that, I'm going to introduce my points to prove that the rise of fast food has been counterproductive or negative. So I use my first connector. Firstly, comma, it has led to a lot of health issues and conditions. For instance, heart disease and obesity, because a lot of fast food tends to be very unhealthy. So that is the first point that I'm giving the examiner to prove that the rise of fast food has been negative. It has been counterproductive. Okay? I have introduced that point using the connector. Firstly, it has led to a lot of health issues. Eating fast food has led to a lot of health issues and conditions such as heart disease and obesity, and that is because a lot of fast food tends to be very unhealthy. Remember to elaborate your answer. Okay, do not simply say, firstly, it has led to a lot of health issues and conditions, and leave it at that. Give some examples, and you can do that using for instance, or you can use such as, or you can use like. Okay? And then after that, I move on to the next point to support my point that the key point that I put in the topic sentence. And to introduce the second point, I use another connector. As a result, comma, the mortality rate in some countries where fast food is very popular has increased drastically. As a result, comma, the mortality rate in some countries where fast food is very popular has increased drastically. So the second point which I have introduced using the linking word as a result is the fact that the mortality rate in countries where fast food is very popular has increased drastically. Mortality rate means death rate. Okay, it is another word for death rate. Mortality rate means death rate, the number of people that die in countries where fast food is very popular has increased drastically. Instead of saying has increased a lot, drastically is a synonym for a lot. And then after that, I want to introduce another point to support my opinion that the rise of fast food has been extremely counterproductive. So to introduce the third point, I use another connector or another linking word, and that is furthermore, comma, the consumption of fast food, most of which tends to be junk food, has made people too lazy to prepare healthy meals using fresh farm produce, for example, fruits and vegetables, which has deprived their bodies of essential nutrients. I introduced the third point using the linking word, furthermore. The consumption of fast food, most of which tends to be junk food, has made people too lazy to prepare healthy meals using fresh farm produce, for example, fruits and vegetables, which has deprived their bodies of essential nutrients. So the point there is the fact that because people consume, consumption means consume or to eat. Consumption is a synonym for eat. Because people eat a lot of fast food, and most of which tends to be junk food, it has made them too lazy to prepare healthy meals using fresh farm produce, for example, fruits and vegetables. And as a result of that, their bodies lack essential nutrients. Their bodies, this has deprived. Deprived means that it has given their bodies no chance of having the essential nutrients. Essential means important nutrients that the body needs. So what you notice in body paragraph 3, just like body paragraph 2, first of all, I introduced the paragraph using a topic sentence. In the topic sentence, I made it very clear to the examiner that I'm going to talk about disadvantages. And then after that, I had 3 different points, and I introduced all those points using a connector. The first point I introduced is using firstly, okay? And then I have another one which is as a result, and then furthermore, okay? And for each of those points, I ensured that I elaborated my answers using examples, okay? I did that using linking words to make the examiner know I'm about to give them examples. For example, I said, firstly, it has led to a lot of health issues and conditions. For instance means for example. And then in the next point, which is the last point, I said, furthermore, the consumption of fast food, most of which tends to be junk food, has made people too lazy to prepare healthy meals using fresh farm produce. And then I gave example of fresh farm produce. For example, I used the linking word for example, okay? Now, once you have written your body paragraph 2, the next thing you need to do is to write your conclusion. And in your conclusion, that is where you respond to the last part of the question. So the last part of the question is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So do you think that the advantages justify eating fast food? Do you think that it is better that we have the rise of fast food, or do you think that it is not a good idea? Okay, so in the conclusion, you're simply supposed to state or explain whether you think it is better for people to continue eating fast food, or you think that people should not be eating so much fast food. Which one do you think has more stronger points? Which one do you think has more stronger arguments? Do you think the advantages give a stronger argument, or do you think the disadvantages give a stronger argument? Which one do you think wins? Okay, so the question, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, simply means which one wins? Okay, which one should come on top? It really is that simple. So to answer that part of the question, you put that in the conclusion. In the body paragraph 2, write about the advantages. In body paragraph 3, write about disadvantages. And then in the conclusion, make it very clear which one wins. Now, how do you do it? How do you write the conclusion? How do you answer that last part of the question? So, to introduce your conclusion, you should always write to sum up, or you can use in conclusion, or you can say to conclude, comma. In my case, I decided to use to sum up, comma. It is evident that the advantages of the rise in the consumption of fast food definitely outweigh the disadvantages, because eating junk food at the expense of your health could have dire consequences, such as the risk of heart disease, obesity, or death. And as we all know, health must come first. So the first thing that you have to do in the conclusion when you're answering this question is, first of all, point out which one wins. Do the advantages win, or is it the disadvantages that win? And to do that, you state it very clearly, as I have done. I have said it is evident that the advantages of the rise in the consumption of fast food definitely outweigh the disadvantages. So that is the first thing that you do. You directly answer the last part of the question, which is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And you can copy this sentence if you want. It is evident, okay, to sum up, it is evident that the advantages of the rise in the consumption of fast food definitely outweigh the disadvantages. And then once you have responded directly to the question by clarifying to the examiner which one wins, after that you give a reason why. And you can let the examiner know that you're about to give the reason using a linking word such as because. Okay? Because eating junk food at the expense of your health could have dire consequences, such as the risk of heart disease, obesity, or death. And as we all know, health must come first. So in this last part, I have justified why the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Because eating junk food at the expense of your health, okay? When you eat junk food, knowing very well that you are destroying your health, it could have dire consequences. Dire consequences means that it could have a very serious negative effect, such as the risk of heart disease. You could develop obesity, or you could even die. And as we all know, health must come first. So for that reason, the advantages definitely outweigh the disadvantages, because health must always come first. Okay? So that is how you write the conclusion. In the conclusion, you respond to the last part of the question. Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And you begin that paragraph, you begin the conclusion with the linking words to sum up, comma. Point number 2, once you have written the linking word, then make it very clear which one wins. Is it the advantages or is it the disadvantages? And you can do that by writing the sentence. It is evident that the advantages of the rise in the consumption of fast food definitely outweigh the disadvantages. That is point number 2 to remember when you're writing your conclusion. And then point number 3, then give the reason why the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Okay? Based on your body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. Because eating junk food at the expense of your health could have dire consequences, such as the risk of heart disease, obesity, or death. And as we all know, health must come first. And because health must always come first, the advantages definitely outweigh the disadvantages. Okay? So, this brings me to the last section of this lesson, where I'm going to give you just a few more tips to ensure that you get a very high band 8, band 9. When it comes to this essay, the very first thing that you want to do is ensure you understand the question. After that, write your introduction, and in the introduction, I have already taught you what you're supposed to write. I recommend that you watch that video before you watch this video. So watch the video on how to write the introduction of exactly the same essay, exactly the same question, to ensure that you have a complete essay. So once you have written the introduction, then you want to write your body paragraph. Remember to always begin your body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3 with the topic sentence. After that, ensure in each body paragraph you have about 3 points. Introduce each point using a linking word like I have done in body paragraph 2. I use firstly, I use as a result of this, and I also used another benefit. In body paragraph 3, I used, on the other hand, I use firstly, I use furthermore, and so on. Remember, for each of your points, elaborate it by giving an example. when it comes to your conclusion, the first thing that you do, introduce that with a linking word that shows that you're concluding. You could use to sum up, you could use to conclude, or you could use in conclusion. Once you have done that for this essay, the next thing you want to do is answer the last part of the question. State very clearly which one outweighs. Which one? Is it the advantages or the disadvantages? And then once you have done that, give a reason for that. Introduce that reason using a linking word such as because. Okay? The next thing that is extremely important is that you use the correct vocabulary. If you want to get a band 9 or a band 8, then you have to use vocabulary that is suitable for those bands. In this essay, I have underlined for you all the words in blue are band 8, band 9 words that you would need for this essay. In body paragraph 2, we have dominated, ready to eat, reduce, energy bills, save energy, environment, global warming, productive, socializing, unwinding. Remember I said unwinding means relaxing. And in body paragraph 3, I have used words such as counterproductive, heart disease, obesity, mortality rate, increased drastically, consumption, junk food, healthy meals, fresh farm produce, deprived, essential nutrients. Okay? And in the conclusion, I used evident, dire consequences, risk of, at the expense of. All these words and phrases are band 8 and band 9 phrases. Now, the last tip that I'm going to give you is be very careful with your tenses. Okay, be very careful with your tenses. Have a look at all the verbs that I have used in this essay and take note of what tense the verbs are in. Okay, it is extremely important that you use the correct tense. Ensure that you have good subject-verb agreement. And finally, take care of your punctuation. Put your commas after all the connectors. Put your full stops at the end of every sentence. Begin all your sentences with capital letters. Okay? Now, if you're planning to get a band 8 or a band 9, then you are expected to write an essay that has more words. Usually we say write more than 250 words. If you want to get a band 8, band 9, then you should be thinking of 300 words to 300 words approximately, okay? But remember, it's better you write fewer words and you write an essay with fewer mistakes, okay? Now, if you found this lesson helpful, if you have learned anything new from this lesson, please subscribe to the channel for more extremely useful content. Give this video a thumbs up and do not forget to share this video on all your social media platforms. And remember to turn your notification button on so that you know when I upload a new video. I'm going to upload a video about how to write the introduction of this particular essay. So look out for that. Now, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.